We are going in to look into BIM execution planning and Lean BIM management. I am Ahmed Cassim, and I am an AEC applications engineer at Modena AEC. The agenda: why do we create BEPs? Some best practices to create successful BEPs. How to get agreement on a clear BIM scope, how to sequence BIM tasks, solutions for and progress management, management and verification of BIM, and some tips on BIM compliance. So, why do we create BEPs? Why should we create a BEP? Well, unfortunately, as many of you know, this is how projects usually work. They consist of multiple teams, usually with different views of what project success looks like. So here we have it, how the customer explained it, and then we have how the BIM consultant described it, how the project was documented, what was installed, and finally, what the customer actually wanted was just a tire swing. So BIM execution plans, or your BEPs, are needed to help teams find a common agreement between multiple teams or disciplines so that everyone can follow the same standards and processes required to get the right outcome. So the BIM execution plan provides governance for a project. Does every BIM project need one? Well, that's a good question. BEPs are starting to be a commonplace or a common practice in many large owners' contracts and on most medium and large BIM projects. And BEPs are also becoming part more and more of standard government requirements too. They're becoming mandatory. That's right. So what are some of the challenges? So good question. What we have found out from some of the companies using BIM is that their current BIM execution process takes too long to create and manage. The BEP is usually a static document, usually created by one person and is mostly copied and pasted from previous projects. Secondly, no one reads the BEP. Usually it's just one large text document. It can be 100+ pages that also references other external standards and processes that are possibly unclear and not aligned to the project needs. Then we have the cross-company agreement from all stakeholders is extremely challenging. Processes and standards naturally evolve throughout the project, and that's okay. Multiple teams need quick access to reference or update. The cycle of gathering comments, updating, and resending the whole document seems never ending. All of this whilst the contract needs to be nailed down and or fixed. We also hear that some are created as a PDF, are not read, get filed away, yes, in the bottom of that drawer gathering dust. So only reviewed if there is a problem that needs to be addressed. So a question that we ask is, when does the BEP get used? And the answer mostly is usually when the dirt hits the fan. How do we make sure that it doesn't end up in that drawer gathering dust? So some best practices to create successful BIM execution plans. We see lots of success when teams build their BEPs together using a collaborative approach, making sure that you add all team members early so that their opinion is included. Also have a central location for all of your team to access, maybe an online or web-based BEP. Instead of it being one person, let's build the BEP together. Make sure to use built-in templates, if there is, to standardize processes. We also see an increased engagement when you have good content, not just having plain text document that gets PDF'd and completely ignored. Using rich content, using video improves visualization and saves space that documents would naturally take up. Information within seconds should be easy to search and navigate. And also, again, embedding visually rich information. So using videos, images, iframes, flowcharts is much more favorable as people just don't want to read it if it's too long. So adding videos and pictures make a huge difference. Also, gaining multi-party agreement, having all teams agree on something, it's not easy. So have a place for contributors to comment on the various aspects of the proposed plan, like on social media. What's great is that it keeps all the information together in one place, rather than one person emailing their suggestions to another person. Here, everyone can see the comments. So on Planly, that is, everyone can see the comments. This all helps build collaborative working. It's a never-ending cycle when you're trying to agree on an entire document. It could be 100+ pages. So splitting it up into bite-sized sections, the commenting, the workflow, sharing them, publishing them, being able to comment on each section, every single section, allows you to break it up into these smaller, more manageable sections. So we can publish, filling out each section as we go. So what you want is to have it always up to date and accessed online. To have built-in commenting and approval workflow, progress approval by bite-sized section, collaboration and updates should continue throughout the project. And also you want to be able to print and archive the contract document at each important contractual stage. So a quick recap on which was BIM execution planning and helping that it to be a part of your BIM management workflow. Most of the success we see is when it's online and collaborative. So also people really enjoy being able to comment and contribute to the structure of the BIM execution plan. They really feel a part of it, which has a great effect on the quality of their work and the effort they put in. And again, having the approval process in bite-sized form, so being able to approve certain parts without approving everything, allows you to move forward on what has been agreed, which saves time and money. So let's see how easy is it to create a BEP on Planly. All right, so the first thing is when you come to your welcome page and you log into Planly, obviously we have the projects over here. You have your workspaces. So if you have mixed use buildings, residential, etc., you can have a lot of workspaces. What we're going to do is we're going to create our own project. We're going to call this one the BIM Harambee project. And once we enter that project, you will notice that you are able to actually add the address of your project or what type of project it is, description, show hide modules, so plan, scope, etc. You can set the geolocation of your project as well. And over here is where we're going to add our teams and our members. So for instance, the structural engineering team or the architectural team, you can add a new team over here. We have the function of the team. So plumbing, structural engineer, you got your abbreviation over there. You can give them a color. So we can have things color coordinated according to the teams. Over here I have the architectural team where I can add members. You simply go and add in the names. If they are with a previous project, their name will pop up there. It's as easy as that, email address, etc. And then we have permissions. So the viewer is just allowed to view things, editor can edit and share things, and the manager can edit, share, view, and publish things. So we have the different permissions over here. You want to control who can view and who can share and who is able to verify things as well. So there we have the contractor, the plumbing engineer as well. So a lot of teams. We can add a picture to our project as well. Let's go into the plan module. So over here, you can see I've already set up some categories over here where you can add your own category, you can add your own title, and obviously we have templates as well that enable us to go and create using templates. So there we go, use templates or create your new section. I can create my new section of my BEP. The first thing I can go and add in a title over there. And from the library, I can go and add in some of our templates. So mission statement, the right BIM at the right time, the right people for the right reasons. And we're going to give a little bit of BIM basics in our BIM execution plan to everybody. These are all templates that are within the platform. And there we go. Instead of having a whole lot of text, let's have a video for people to watch. We're going to bring in some ISO principles over there. And we're going to have a look at maybe 3D coordination and clash detection. And maybe project setup. Obviously, you can go in and type in the search as well. Should be somewhere around here. Project coordinates. There we go. So these are, for example, some of the things that I want in the BEP. I can swap them around. I can add a section in between there. All right, there we go. I can delete that section as well. So very, very easy, very simple. We can now go and start adding all the categories to our BEP. I can also go and add in another category for here. Maybe call this one the working drawing stage or working drawing category. So people that are involved in the working drawings, under that category, I will probably put the 3D coordination and clash detection. So it's a simple click and drag and drop, and project coordinates as well. Okay, so very simple, very quick and easy, and that's what we want. What we also want is to be able to communicate with each other. So like on social media, we would like to comment on this. So I'm going to comment here. I'm going to say, do we agree on the statement? All right, once my comment is added, I can then leave it there for everybody else to get a notification on Planoly and see that I have commented on this. All right, note that it's a live document, so it shows that I've just commented a few seconds ago. And what I can say is, being an editor, I can go and share this information. All right, and everybody will get the notification that I've shared this notification. And being a manager, I can go and publish this for everybody to have a look at, so everybody can know that I've verified this. And for those who want their hard copies, who want this archived, who want it in the PDF format, you can choose your cover page, headers, footers, scope, etc. You can choose a cover page for the PDF document, and you simply go and print it. And Planoly will spit out a PDF copy of your BEP that you've created, and it's as simple as that. There we go. That's our cover page. The people involved, the teams. We've got some of the categories in there. We didn't add much. That's our statement over there. Some rich content, workflows, etc. And there we have it. Very, very simply, we're going to go and create our BEP. Alrighty. So the next thing, agreeing on a BIM scope. So we've covered the importance of a BEP, but shouldn't the scope document also be a part of the BEP? Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look at how we can agree on a clear BIM scope that you can include in your BEP. So why do we need to agree on a BIM scope? We know that most project stakeholders usually have different BIM goals. Be they the architect, the engineers, or trade manager, everyone has their own idea on what their BIM should look like or should include. But why is agreement between these stakeholders so difficult? We hear from project teams that these are some of the challenges that they face. Unfortunately, many teams end up contracting to an incorrect, overly detailed, overly generalized BIM scope or spreadsheet. These can be disastrous for teams and for the project. Unfortunately, these scopes are generally mandated and not agreed on. They're usually built by one person and mandated to other teams. Some of them are only viewed as PDF or spreadsheet with a set of confusing numbers and usually is inaccessible by others. Using a spreadsheet to define the who, what, when, and where becomes too complex and confusing for most people. Also, unclear scope spreadsheets cause models that are missing scope, models with duplicate or overlapping scope, and are a huge waste of time. So let's talk about some tips about how to create scope that teams can actually agree to. The key to unlocking most challenges is being able to ask the right questions. Here are some of those questions. So why are we doing BIM? Who is responsible? What scope is required for that BIM use? How much is actually needed? When is the scope needed? And where do we start? So once we have all these questions, what are the most important BIM uses for the project? So define the why. Why are teams creating 3D modeling in the first place? What's the purpose of them? Is it for structural estimate? Is it for MEP coordination? Is it for handover, etc.? Once you've got that, you need to know what scope needs to be managed on the project. What's the list of elements that will need to be estimated or coordinated or handed over? Is it wall foundations, HVAC, etc.? Then each BIM use teams must define how much BIM is actually required, how much BIM matters for each customer of the model at each stage of the project. Then define the required geometry, documentation, and the information requirements. Some of the most important parts are understanding and defining when critical handovers of responsibility occur, like here for the stairs from the architect to the structural team. Knowing who is responsible and when is critical for project success. What's needed for the perfect BIM scope? Answers to these questions reveal what's important, when it's required, for what BIM use or purpose, who's responsible, and what handovers are expected or agreed to. So on the platform, we can see here, if we go to the scope module, you can see we've got our BIM uses over there: design reviews, 3D coordination, cost estimation, and handover. We can add milestones. Over here, I've added these milestones: design reviews, 3D coordination, cost estimation, and handover. We can add in these different milestones. Over here, we have exterior walls for the structural and the architect, and structural engineer has concrete stairs. In the library, we can go search for some more elements that we can click, drag, and drop between the disciplines. So for instance, we have retaining walls. We can put it to the structural team's scope. Obviously, this will have to be agreed upon. Let's go into plumbing. We've got the cold water plumbing system, bathroom plumbing fixtures. I can click, drag, and drop some element groups over there, some residential plumbing fixtures, and I'm simply going to add these to each of the BIM uses. All right, over here we can increase or decrease the level of detail. So if we go back to the settings of our project, we can go and set a project standard. So we can choose the LOD 100, 200, 300, 350, etc. And then when we go into the scope, you'll see you have your LODs over there in the top left-hand corner, and you can increase or decrease it at any stage or BIM use of the project. So at handover, you're probably going to want it at LOD 400, etc., etc. But this can sometimes be confusing to most. So I'm going to set mine to none. And I'm going to go back to the scope. We like pictures. We are very visual people when it comes to the scope, and it just is much easier to everybody else. We can go here and assign the plumbing engineer, the element group for residential plumbing for under 3D coordination and cost estimation. Over here we can see nothing has been assigned to the exterior wall, so we can say the architect for design reviews is responsible for providing the documentation for design reviews and maybe 3D coordination, the structural engineer will be responsible for that at that stage. Okay, you'd see a lot of stuff for the plumbing engineer to do. Let's assign the concrete stairs to the structural engineer when it comes to 3D coordination. So who is responsible for what stage of the project? We have some checklists that we can simply click and add to specific elements. Check for maybe finishes or maximum height of the walls. So we have a checklist. We can add more information requirements as well. All right, so for here, I'm going to go for my, you can create your own, basically, information requirements. Or you can go and choose from the library. So from the library, I'm looking for something for our concrete. Let's have a look here. Maybe let's type in concrete in the search bar. There we go. And what I'm looking for is the ABC per ACI 117, specified by face of concrete. And I'm just going to add it over here. What I can do is expand everything and just add this information over there. So let's go to the structural engineer. There we have our concrete stairs. That's where we add in the information over there. And obviously we can minimize that as well. We can simply add in templates. Everybody, it comes with the example scope where you can import the different disciplines scoping into your BEP scope. So you got architectural and any of the elements that you usually find in Revit, and you can import it in here into any of the milestones. And you can add in all the teams, information requirements, checklists, boxes for checklists, attachments, etc., etc. And then what you're going to want to do is you want to archive this. So you want to do it in a PDF format, and you can call this your latest version or your scope, etc. And you can either lock it down or you can make it available to the public, to those who are able to view the document. So we're going to call this maybe BEP revision 2, and then you simply print it out, and there you have there we go. Unlock this document and generate a public link. So for people in the project to download, you can choose the models that you want in there. And there we have our scope within our BEP. Scroll down a little. There we go. Who is responsible for what at what BIM use or stage of the project, and the level of detail as well. So very simple, very, very easily, we can go and define the scope of our work within Plannerly. So a quick recap. So always start with a purpose. What are we creating a model in the first place for? What scope is required? How much is actually needed? When is the scope needed, and who is responsible? We see a lot of teams responding well to a visual grid, like we've just seen in the scope, not just information or the accuracy or the geometry. It's a combination of all those. So we defined what is required by whom and then be able to assign to them. That helps us see the handover from one team to another. And very importantly, as we just mentioned, we are making it a lean workflow. So everyone understands what the requirements are and is able to deliver. Sequencing BIM tasks. So why sequence BIM tasks? It's all about making sure tasks get completed at the right time in the right way. It's all about the why. Well, if we get them in the wrong order, even if we were to avoid a clash, it still could lose us money. On the left-hand side, the pipes don't run through the cable tray, but it will cost more in materials and time, so more bends and welds and supports. But if we get the sequence right, we get the plumbing installed before the cable tray and avoid losing time and money. How do we prioritize tasks to minimize the impact on cost? Sequencing the less expensive element to route around the other will reduce the cost. But why is sequencing BIM tasks such a challenge? Well, some teams report these challenges. Since we can't all be in the same office and it's difficult to influence other people's work, and we can end up with isolated or out of sequence work, which leads to rework due to having to move something because it didn't work out. And using lean design management concepts are starting to become more common, but for most, this is a completely new concept, believe it or not. So let's talk about some tips on how to sequence tasks in a more optimal order. The first key, and it's a big picture idea, that if we can have a system priority structure setting the foundation, the more important or less flexible items first, then going on to the more flexible or less costly things to work on, that would be really beneficial. And also implementing a lean design management workflow and pool planning. So basically pool planning is what the objective and then what we need to do before that, what we need to do before that, etc., etc. So we can really sequence the tasks effectively. This can help to ensure that everyone is contributing to the plan and agreeing to the most optimum sequence. We can start to capture those critical dependencies and assign tasks digitally to team members so that the assignments carry forward for when they are not in the office. The result is that we can have a plan to start each team at the right time, even if it means in vastly different project stages or phases, so that we avoid unnecessary waste and rework. This means we are not wasting people's time. They are adding to the model at the right time in the right place. We are reducing the amount of rework on the project. This directly impacts the project cost. In the platform, we will go to the schedule page. So here we are. All right, there we go. I've got some tasks that have been sequenced over there. So once you click on the task, you can see who has created the task, when it's set for ready to review, who it has been assigned to. Okay, over here, unscheduled tasks. So you can simply click and drag the unscheduled tasks into the schedule. So over here, we have the element groups that we can drag in there. I have exterior walls that I had dragged in before. All right, so that's the structural engineer's work. And then I have the cold water plumbing that's here as well. Now, obviously, we're going to want the exterior walls to be fitted before we do maybe bathroom plumbing or cold water plumbing. And we can see that if we started the way we're working with now, let's just have this back there for the plumbing engineer. All right, if you can see, if they start with the cold water plumbing first before the exterior walls, then you can see the line that's joining them is red, which means it's out of sequence work. It's out of sequence task. We can't have that working. But if we simply can go and drag maybe the cold water plumbing out a little by a few, maybe after the exterior walls are built, then we won't have, or after maybe the concrete stairs, basically, then we won't have any problems. You can see there are no red lines anywhere. Everything is sequencing in proportion to how it's supposed to look. I'm just going to bring in the concrete stairs over there. Let's drag it out. Obviously, I can click in it and I can go to the dates. We can stretch the dates, how long we need to be working on this, how long the structural engineer has to be working on this. Let's change that to 15 days. Obviously, we have our checklists. We can assign it to specific people. Checklists, whoever is responsible for this has to make sure they tick off the checklist before a manager can verify that. Okay, so the concrete stairs, there we have your cold water starting after the concrete stairs, then there's no problem. If we have our exterior walls and we have the bathroom plumbing over there, but if we're starting our exterior walls and we're not finishing in time and the plumbing engineer is already starting with the bathroom plumbing, that's going to be an issue. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to say, okay, no problem. What the plumbing engineer will have to do is just wait a while. So maybe start his task a little later. So after the structural engineer has finished exterior walls, after we've given him the specific time, the 12 days, as you can see there, everything will be fine. We won't have any out of sequence work. Okay, over here we can choose to see project teams or just the images. We can filter out by just the structural engineer, by just the teams involved, so the structural engineer can just see his work and his dates, or we can go and filter by the disciplines or the BIM uses, or we can just have managers like to have all teams to view if everything has been done on time. And in the track module, we've got some items that are ready for review. We've got some items that we haven't started with yet. So I'm going to go and put in bathroom plumbing fixtures into the started card over there. So it's like a Kanban board. I'm going to put exterior walls for the structural engineer to into the started column. We have a verified column over here. We have a ready for review column. So what is ready for review? What has just been started? What is still to do? We still have concrete stairs to do. Ready for review, we have the wooden stairs ready for review. Bathroom plumbing fixtures has just been started. The cold water plumbing system, we can add in checklists over there. So for the plumbing engineer to go in and make sure he checks on these checklists and, you know, tick the boxes where necessary so that managers can go and verify that things have been done. We can assign it to specific people. All right, if we go into the concrete stairs as well, have a look over here where we can attach the specs for the concrete stairs. So we can attach PDF documents, etc. So like your precast concrete stairs, and there we go. We can attach images as well. Alrighty, and what managers would like to do is, if we go to the permissions, managers will then want to make sure that whatever is ready for review has to be verified. So that's where we go into the verified module. Once in the verified module, you can actually add models. So you can upload a model, or you can connect via BIM 360, which is where most of our models are kept, our collaborative models. You can add your models in there and it connects. It's a plugin to BIM 360, and in your model will automatically pop up here, where you have on the left-hand side everything that's ready for review or started, etc., etc. You also have the tree on your extreme right-hand side for all the elements that are in the project. So as you can see, there are casework, ceilings, doors, entourage floors, etc., etc., how you would have it in Revit, etc., that it would come in with the project as you bring it in. This is where managers will use or will go to basically verify what has been done. Things that have been set for ready for review will be reviewed over here. Alrighty. So a quick recap, we are enhancing teamwork. Collaboration is very key. All of us need to agree on the system priority structure. Everyone involved needs to be present for the pool planning. And ultimately, this reduces all the amount of work it takes managing and completing schedules, and it makes the managing process lean and straightforward. So why is updating project progress such a challenge for teams? Everyone tends to create and manage their own to-do list in their own isolated environment. It's usually up to one person to gather everyone's updates. And even when you do receive that information, can you trust it? Let's look at some tips for simple and seamless progress updates that teams can trust. We've seen the best results when teams use simple Kanban boards. It's a column-based chart that you can drag and drop cards to quickly understand their status. You can have lots of different columns to represent those. What is prioritized? What is ready for review? The power comes from consolidating all team members' tasks in a single location. But it's not just a Kanban board. It's about doing everything in one place, in one location. This means that everyone is tracking the progress together, not the individual silos. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see Michelle's tasks that are simply filtered, and that makes it really easy for her to just drag and drop her updates. And on the right-hand side, we see Ted. He sees the overview of all tasks, making it a lot easier to understand the process. Then it's important to make sure that the updates are a team effort instead of it being one person being responsible for going around and collecting the reports. Each team member can filter their own tasks to make updates. Then managers can see all the tasks to understand the big picture. So a quick recap: one to-do list can help all the team members collaborate and sequence effectively and communicate effectively. Kanban boards help visualize this process and keep everything all in one place. It's then imperative to ensure that teams are meeting those requirements. So let's take a look at how teams can verify that these objectives have been met. Why verify BIM compliance? Well, if there is one bad apple or model, then it can cause a significant impact on all the other models and cause a lot of problems for everybody. Think about the impact of missing content on the quantities for an estimate. Oof. So why is this a challenge? Why is verifying against those requirements sometimes a big challenge? A lot of the time, unfortunately, the original requirements are unclear. Is it a 6 or is it a 9? We use disconnected tools, which make it difficult to bring that data together to connect the requirements to the deliverables. Also, understanding contracts and how risk is usually allocated in our design and construction industry really does not help. It's a big challenge when someone is not on the hook for something that is part of their requirements. From a BIM perspective, it's not easy to have a look at all the items or at the items that are ready for review or verifying them on the platform. It should be easy only if it's on one platform. So let's have a look at the verification process within Planoly. Obviously, over here in Planoly, we have, like we said, the elements that are ready for review. What a manager will do is he will go into any of these. If I just select maybe the exterior walls. So what we can do is we can go and check or we can cluster all these exterior walls. Once we link it, we can go and cluster it so all the walls are together, and we can simply go and select each of these walls, and like on BIM 360, we can check information or properties on these specific walls. There is the measurement tool, etc. that's there as well. If we go out of the cluster tool, once we are happy with everything, a manager can go through the process of having a look at what else is there, any notes, any checklists, etc. And once you're done, you can go and hit verify. And once something has been verified, you can check the status, the live status update. Everything turns green, meaning that it's verified. Alrighty, there we go. Concrete stairs have been verified, etc. So also make sure that you can go into each of these elements, make sure that checklists have been done, who had done what. Okay. And also we, as a manager, I can go, and if I'm happy with something, I can go and publish this. All right, so it's changed from blue to green. And once I set things to publish and authorize, it's authorized for everybody to use now with the date, etc. It's now available for everybody to download this specific version. Okay, so very quick, very easy. Alrighty. Next, so let's talk about a few tips on BIM compliance. Now, the first important task to prepare is to prepare and consolidate your requirements. So one of those things might be to organize your requirements, whether they be by team member, milestone, etc. You'll want to organize your scope list, then consolidate your reference materials as attachments, then gather your notes from pool planning sessions and kickoff meetings, then list the requirements for each system or element, and trying to get back the scope of requirements that you actually planned. So having all of these requirements in one place really helps you begin that verification process. Then having all of this in the same place makes it easier to review against the deliverables. We can review if those contracted tasks have been completed. The most important part of the whole workflow is getting to a deliverable that meets requirements and can be released. Only models that meet original requirements can be published for the intended use. Never publish a model that has not been verified. So quick recap, let's consolidate all the requirements in one place. Let's make sure that we review every single model before it's released. Let's make sure we can go through the QA list and make sure it's consolidated. Then we can make it a lot easier to review before we share and publish that model. I trust that this will lead us to create much better and more clearly defined BIM execution plans, and will assist in incorporating much leaner and more collaborative workflows and BIM management. And hopefully this will take our meetings between us and our clients and the rest of the teams involved from this to this. Thank you everyone for joining. Keep well, stay safe, and enjoy.